Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to ECCSC. My name is Tyrone Muhammad. I'm your host for today. I'm the founder and operator, CEO, and everything else in between, along with a cadre of other individuals who have thought that it was time for us to create an organization with the formerly incarcerated in mind. Ex-Cons for Community and Social Change. Let me give you a little history on that. I did 21 years in prison. And while in prison, I grew sick and tired of seeing young brothers come in and out, the recidivism rate, and the manner in which these young men seemed to not have a clue about what they was about to face. And having a heavy heart with that, I decided that if the politicians and the religious leaders and the communities wasn't going to do anything about the conditions we was observing while being isolated in the prison system, I said we would have to do it for ourselves. Because so many times I've had discussion with fellow prisoners about what they saw as an impediment to them, their reentry, as well as the impediment as far as the lack of resources and opportunities once they return back to society. So myself, along with several other individuals, we threw around ideas about how could we use our experience, our social, mental, psychological, and physical confinement to craft something that can serve us after we leave, as well as prevent brothers from coming to prison and experiencing what we was going through. So I decided and had the audacity to call it Ex-Cons, because for community and social change, because I thought and I always believed that we have always felt like convicts, even in our own communities, in our environment. This so-called politically correct way of looking at things, returning citizens. No guy that I've ever served time with felt like they were returning citizens. And recently, no individual that I've had the privilege to work with has ever felt like he was a returning citizen or a citizen in America, because we felt isolated even in our own communities. And with that being said, Ex-Cons, ECCSC, was the organization that came about as a result of these conversations and these social ills, these mental and psychological ills I watch the young brothers go through on a daily basis. So for those who out there that would like to support and know more about ECCSC, please visit our website at www.eccsc.info. You can email us at eccsc18@gmail.com, and you can visit us on our Facebook page. That's Ex-Cons for Community and Social Change, ECCSC, to give your support towards that as well. Once again, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to have a voice. And I would like to thank CAN TV for giving us an opportunity. This is the first show of many. We hope to be able to bring a host of exciting guests. Over the next few weeks, I would make the attempt to reach out to Bruce Rauner, our governor, current governor, J.B. Pritzker, Dorothy Brown for mayor, Willie Wilson for mayor, and a host of state and McCarthy for mayor, and a host of other individual politicians, civic and social leaders we hope to have on our show as we build a platform and, just try to be a voice for the disinfected. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. And I welcome your call-ins, your questions, and anything of a concern you may have, or even information that I may pass on to other formerly incarcerated men, because the struggle is real. I recall coming home, trying to figure out what was next, for me. And the one thing I needed more than anything was identification. It took me practically 3 weeks to get identification. But when we're released and put before parole officers and agents, they tell us that's the number one thing is our identification. But here I sat in the home, unable to get the proper identification so I can begin to move forward in life. As it stands now, because of situations that I've been through with this ID process, from what I'm understanding now, the transition is a bit better now for the guys coming home, because I'm thinking they're dealing with it from the inside the prison, which we've always said that if I've been locked up for 20 years, it's clear who I am. Why isn't I'm able to? Why shouldn't I be able to take the same paperwork that keeps me confined and take it to the DMV or any other institutions that that I need identification for? So that barrier seems to be one that we have overcome. The next thing is housing. Housing for the formerly incarcerated man is almost none and void. There's not enough halfway houses to service or even provide proper direction and guidance in the foundation for the men that's returning to their communities. Oftentimes, family and friends are no longer around or have moved on with their life. When you're serving 20 and 30 years, things change for you. And those family members are no longer around, have moved on with their lives. And sometimes we come back with nothing. We come back to nothing. We clearly come back with nothing, but we come back to nothing. So I really would like for us to think about that process, the housing, formerly incarcerated men coming home. Some of them are homeless, and they're subjected to whatever it is that they're subjected to find housing. And I know it was difficult for me. I would consider myself, when I first came home, homeless, because after being in a 9x12 space we have a caller. Yeah, I see we have a caller. So let's listen to a caller. Let's see what the questions and suggestions are.
Yes, sir. A great show. And I enjoy your advice and information because you're telling it like it is. Listen, I've never been in trouble, but my brother was, and he went and he served his time. He came back. I had a friend that gave him a job, and now my brother has his own painting company. But the thing is this, when your family, when your community don't accept you back, because they figure, well, he messed up once, he messed up twice, maybe even 3 times. He ain't going to change. So guess what happened? They go back right to the streets and get in trouble again. So it all starts with your family. I don't care what you've done. When you come back home, you have to show him love, because if you don't, he'll think that he can get that love on the street, and where's he going to end up at? Right back where he came from. But the other thing is, when they're inside, education Read up on their books. This way, when you come out, you have a chance to get to get a job and stuff. Other than that, baggy pants and tattooed up all on your neck and your face, that ain't gonna get you nowhere. So listen, before you do all of that stuff, family, that'll teach you. That should take you through. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. That's real. That's real. Family is everything, caller. Without family, you have to find that support from somewhere. And it is my hope that ECCSC will be the family for those coming home, the formerly incarcerated, the returning citizen. It is my hope that our organization will be recognized as not an organization for ex-cons, but ECCSC. In the same light that the acronym for NAACP mean what it means. We are no longer called colored people, but we still use the acronyms. I want ECCSC, brother, to be a household name for those brothers coming home, returning citizens. The reality is prisons aren't going anywhere. Prisons aren't going anywhere. But what we need to do with the lobbying power of the formerly incarcerated man is to be able to have a seat at that table, to try to help the legislator craft better legislation that deal with the whole man, that deal with the individual as a human being opposed to someone that's isolated and that we isolate from the public, as though these men would never come home. We understand that everyone the majority of the men in prison eventually come home. Everyone is not doing a life sentence. So we have to get the legislators on board. We need the legislators to have our voices at the table. I would love to be able to sit at the table and help legislators craft better policy that serve the whole of the inmate. Education is the key, brother. While I was in prison, I noticed that education is the one thing that they don't push. You have to almost do that yourself. And in fact, sir, if everyone in prison wanted to go to school, there would be no opportunity for him. If you have 2,100 prisoners in one prison, and you only have one shift for school, and that's the daytime, and then maybe the few college courses that's at night, which is really dwindling as well because the funding is not even there for that. It would be impossible for every prisoner who desire a higher education or higher learning to be able to attend school. You have to do shifts. You have to have a morning classes for a group of maybe 300 to 400 prisoners. Then you have to have an afternoon course, and then you have to have night schools. My friend, I tell you, funding is not there for that. They have funding to keep us incarcerated, but there's never enough funding or emphasis on money that's needed to keep us from coming back. In most cases, prisoners are not encouraged, like I say, to seek out education. I would like to say this because there's a level of depression as well that set in on the individual when he's living in a 12 by 9 or smaller, what I call washroom, with another man who probably his size or equal or greater than him in size and might, as physical structure and stature. Two men sharing a 12 by 9 space. It's like everything. I always say that you live in a box within the box, and what I mean by that is that the institutions place you in a box. Everything you own fits in a box. Everything you eat comes out of a box. And the whole structure of prison is designed to keep your mind boxed in the parameters or the diameters that they prescribe for you, which is often never anything that benefits you as a human being, as a whole person. So I was fortunate enough to get 2 associate degrees, achieve 2 associate degrees while I was in prison, a horticulture certification, a cosmetology certification, a custodial maintenance certification, 2 automotive certification, and a substance abuse counseling associates, as well as 20 or 30 bachelor credits from the University of Illinois. So that's the objective. It should be education to keep the guys sane and on point. Education is the key to a return to citizen. I see we have a caller.
Yes, I called earlier. But you know what? What you're talking about, there's not enough education and not enough books. Well, that's why I'm so happy when I heard that you're going to have politicians on you, sitting there with you. Because without pushing them, they're not going to do nothing.
No doubt.
They haven't done nothing for the last 20 years.
That's no doubt.
For 20 years ago, it was 75 to 80% white aldermen. Now we got the majority of African American and Hispanic. And guess what? Things have gotten worse. They haven't gotten any better. So we better start thinking about who we vote for. Read up on them. You know, everybody's downtrodden on the ex-con. Well, what do you expect? If you don't help them, what are you going to do? Tell them to give programs morning, noon, and night in them prisons, and then you can start talking, about re-electing them. Until then, man, don't vote for them because all they're doing is nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's right. We have to compel them. We have to force them. That's what it is. Let me just tell you, caller, it's like this. It's my understanding that there's a close to or more than 1 million formerly incarcerated men in Chicago alone. And every one of us can vote. After serving our debt to society, we're able to vote. And my goal and objective is to ultimately create a major block of formerly incarcerated men, no different than the LGBTQ community, the PETA, even police have unions. Everyone has a union to fight for their rights, their privileges, except us. Everyone has that right. We have no one fighting for the formerly incarcerated men. Even after these individuals have served their debt to society, they have no representation. No taxation without representation. And the majority of these men that come home that have served their time, they work and they pay taxes and they're not being represented. So we have something here, sir. We do have something, and we're going to build on this, and we're going to continue to push it and move it with the families, the loved ones, everybody. And we have another caller. Please, caller. Thank you.
Yes, and good evening.
Good evening.
I've been listening to you and to Ray that have been calling in. I have a substance of this. The penal system could be on the Fortune 500. People don't truly understand that. They need prisoners to make money. The penal situation is not about changing your life. It's about money for the big people who got money in it. That's old chain days, old chain gangs. You saw them on the house in the 20s and the 30s. Well, it's still a chain gang, and this is the year 2018. Education. Education is a big factor of this, but get that education before you go in. The more education you got, the better off you being. Try to not be in there. Again, everyone has a story. Some get caught, some don't. But again, we got to keep on living with our life.
Yes, sir.
Family is the most greatest thing on God's green earth to me. Family seems like it's gone out the box. friends on. They was all right when you was on the corner doing whatever you're doing, and congratulations that you made it out. But again, once you come home, you're dead to them. You know, it's over. They don't they don't care anything about that. Matter of fact, young blood might tell you get the heck away from this block before you can get out of there. But the thing is, I don't have no answer of stopping crime. But I know for sure education, family, religion, there's a lot of things that can help you from going in. But again, some people go in, some people don't. I'm one of those blessed ones. I've never been in prison. Sure, I could have been there probably back in my younger days, but God said, gave me a break. So again, I think start talking to the young people. Get that education now. Don't wait until you go into prison, because like I said, it's very hard to get it. The more you get, maybe that could be the chance to save your life. Listen, I want to commend you. I think you're doing a heck of a good job. Like I said, we talking. Some people don't know anything about the insides and all, just what you hear and see. I've heard enough to know I don't want to be in there. I'm going to do every damn thing I can to keep my butt out of there.
Yes, sir.
So again, thank you. Congratulations to you, man. Help the young and don't go back. Thanks for taking call. Let me get out there so I'll hear your response.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you. And we always ask the people, you know, the communities ask for change. And then when men like us who come out of prison after serving 21 years, you can't fathom the depth of what that really is, man. Even if we committed a crime, the penalty, the harshness of isolation when human beings were made to be free is overwhelming. And I equate it this way. It's like living in your washroom for a day. Imagine that. Then on top of living in your washroom, everything you do of life activities takes place in that washroom. You eat, you sleep, you pass waste, you do everything in that small space. You pray, you study, you exercise, and mind you, most of the time there's another individual in the cell with you serving his time. And now imagine doing that for a week. And then now with you stay in your bathroom for a month, doing all of those things I just spoke of. Now try doing that for a year. Furthermore, let's go, in my case, and the people associated with me, most of the guys associated with my organization have 20 years or more. Most of the guys that serve, that's a part of ECCSC, they have 20 years or more. So now imagine standing in prison in a washroom for 21 years in my case. And then now you're released back into society. In my case, it was different because I chose to get the education and I chose to overcome my anger, fear, and frustration. But imagine keeping an animal in a cage. We're talking a human being now. We don't keep animals in cages like that. We give animals more free than we give ourselves. So yes, sir. In the end, sir, it's really about you know, what can we offer? What can we do for those brothers? The show will get more. We will get more detailed and intensive about it, but extensive rather. But until then, we would like everyone to visit our website and gather all the information you need on the website, and visit our Facebook page, as our information will be available there as well. And you can email us. And anytime you feel free, you can give us a call. And so we thank you for tuning in. And we appreciate your support. And anytime, you know, you feel free to reach out to us. And hopefully we can answer your questions. Thank you.